Feeling emotional when you least expect it. Here's what your emotions are trying to tell you. Okay, so feeling all the feels, feeling emotionally overwhelmed, feeling on an emotional roller coaster, all that kind of stuff that comes up these days or that we hear about. What does it actually mean to say those things? Like, what are the experiences that are bringing up this kind of terminology? I even feel it myself. Like the other day, I was watching a true crime documentary, and I just couldn't help but bawl. And I was just like, why am I crying at this? And while it was a true crime doc, and I felt for the victims in it, I think it's just it feels weird to feel so emotional about something that might not connect directly to you, or it does, and we just don't know. I don't know. Love your take on what this means when this comes up in conversation lately.
Yeah, absolutely. And I chuckled there because we've all been there, right? We watch a movie and we tear up and we feel emotional. And it's like, why am I crying right now? Where is this coming from? So
Mm.
absolutely. I think our emotional engagement comes from somewhere, right? Our emotions are a telltale sign, kind of like a check engine light with a car, right? It's there for a reason and it's telling us something about ourselves. So um, sometimes I ask clients thinking about what's informing that emotional experience, right? What's triggering that response, helping us to unpack our feelings and also helping us to label our feelings, right? The more accurately we can label how we feel, the more accurately we can actually express those things to others too, right? Like, oh, that's where this is coming from, right? I'm
Mhm.
feeling sad, I'm feeling really triggered or really emotional right now. Like, what is kind of that ammunition for you?
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. Like a check engine light comes on and you have to react to it. But even for myself, and I don't know about you, but I often don't know how to check in with that. I often just never know what that means or how to acknowledge where this might be coming from. So what are types of things that you might do with clients in sessions or would recommend in general to people who might not know how to label these emotions or understand the experiences connected to the current emotions?
Absolutely. Yeah, it's super easy to drive with the check engine light flashing and ignore it. But the
Yeah.
harder thing to do is to address it, right? So, one thing we can do in sessions is helping you understand your emotional experience. So, emotion regulation is really a skill, right? It's a mindfulness skill, understanding why I feel angry, why I feel irritable, right? Sometimes we suppress those emotions. So, helping clients to label that is really important. We might use a feelings wheel in session, helping you to look for the
Mm.
language that you're really feeling right now. Sometimes we don't have the words in the language. So that could be a great way that we could kind of unpack those emotions a bit more.
Yeah. And then I guess when you learn to label them accordingly, what is then the next step? How do you then control the emotion? So, how would I be able to say, I'm emotionally balanced or I'm emotionally stable? Also, what does that really mean to be that?
Yeah, yeah. And I think the idea of emotional stability is kind of like that word balance, right? Sometimes the
Mhm.
pendulum is always swinging one way or another, right? Sometimes balance is really hard in our lives. I think just honoring where you're at, right? Like I'm going through an experience right now. I'm a human being. If we didn't have emotions and feelings, it would be a little strange, right? And so just validating and honoring where you're at. Like I'm going through an emotional time right now. That's okay. Maybe
Mhm.
it's labeling and recognizing that and then practicing self-compassion, being kind to yourself. It's okay that I'm sad right now. It's okay that I'm feeling frustrated or angry. So the difference between emotion management is that we want to be able to recognize those things to help us label those feelings, and then once we have that emotion control. So the difference there is we're recognizing it and then we're going to help you to kind of control it. I don't love that word control, but we want you to master it a little bit more, right? So instead of, for example, if you're feeling really angry, instead of feeling angry and maybe punching a hole in a wall or something, right? Maybe you're going to feel angry, but then know, okay, I can breathe through this, right? I can practice some mindfulness and help myself move through this emotion. Like it's okay, I feel angry right now, but maybe I'm going to manage it a little bit differently. Having emotional control, right? So feeling our
Mhm.
emotions, but then also being able to manage them in a maybe a healthier, more effective way for ourselves.
Yeah. And this might be a not a trick question, but maybe more difficult to answer. But I'm just curious, when we start to feel emotions in places that we don't expect to feel them, what does that say or what does that mean? So example, like we just touched upon at the beginning, like watching a true crime doc or watching a movie or like seeing someone on the street doing something, like why do these emotions suddenly arise in places you don't expect them to?
Yeah, and that's something we can do in session, right? Understanding and unpacking why we feel the way we feel, right? So, say for
Right.
example, I'm wearing glasses, and you said to me, "Oh, I hate your glasses. Like, I do not like those glasses at all," right? And I got really angry with you and frustrated. But my reaction is not at you directed. I'm not angry with Danielle. I'm angry because I'm actually triggered by, when I was a kid, I wore glasses and I was actually
Mhm.
bullied for it. It wasn't cool to wear glasses then, right? And
Right.
so you're actually triggering an emotional response for me that maybe I haven't worked through or unpacked, right? And so I'm holding a little bit of that right now. So
Yeah.
my reaction isn't necessarily about, what you said to me in the present. Maybe I know that I like my glasses right now, and I'm kind of like, whoa, where did that come from? But Danielle
Right.
really hit kind of a trigger there for me. So it's
Mhm.
understanding some of our past experiences, right? What we've gone through can really shape the way that we respond emotionally.
That's a great way to put that. And I think that's kind of the hardest part. And maybe for me, suddenly this is a therapy session for me. But I find unpacking my past experience is really hard because I think you can touch on this too more as the expert here. But you almost don't want to feel those feelings. Like, they exist because of these past experience maybes, but you don't want to connect the dots all the time. Do you find working with clients that's sometimes difficult to work with them on?
Of course, we're all humans, right? We don't want those bigger emotions like anger or sadness, like those are not always the most desirable emotions to feel, right? They're hard to feel. But the
Yeah.
important thing I always say to clients is we have to really feel it to heal it, right? So sometimes we do have to push ourselves a little bit, right? To work through those emotions and know that it's okay for me to feel these emotions and I'm skillful to manage them in a better way than maybe punching that hole in that wall, right? I'm going to do some mindfulness. I'm going to practice some deep breathing. Maybe I'm going to go exercise. Maybe I'm going to pick up the phone and call a friend for some support, right? So it's all about that emotion control, right? Once we know how to manage it, once we have the awareness first, we're definitely able to control our emotions.
That's so wonderfully put. I love it. Feel it to heal it. So good.
Feel it to heal
Tattoo
it.
that from my head.
Yes.
Okay, one last question.
Trademark that.
This is also something that I do too. And I think it has something to do with, like, again, past experience and emotions that you just are afraid to feel and express. But do you ever get in a fight with someone or your partner or whoever, and you just start crying because you're so angry and you just don't know what to say? Is that common? And what can we do to prevent that from happening? Where you can like get to a point to express those emotions without completely breaking down, I suppose.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, it's kind of goes back to like how we engage our emotional experience. So, noticing like in that moment, like, hey, I'm a human. I'm having an emotional experience right now. Developing that language, like, maybe with your partner, if you're getting into a fight or something's happening, just saying to them, like, that really upset me, or that's making me really sad, or it's really frustrating when X happens or something, right? So using the language to communicate, because I think also labeling it to your partner is probably helping yourself to actually process those feelings. So maybe it's
Mm.
coming out where it's in this really big argument. Hopefully, it's sort of like, yeah, you know what? When you said that, it really made me upset, or it really made me frustrated when you did that. So just kind of using that language to help us. Bring out our feelings wheel even too. I'm wondering, like, you can say to your partner, I'm feeling this, and you can even show them on the feelings wheel, right? Like, really informing yourself and informing your partner maybe of your emotional experience.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing from you really is it's all about, effective communication to a degree, our awareness of maybe past experiences, learning how to label and manage those emotions, learning the difference between, controlling them, feeling them, doing some feelings work, and of course, talking to professionals like yourself to work through it. And wherever they're at, that's okay. You'll meet them there.
Exactly. Yeah.